But come on, come on, let him have this. Fox News defense is literally just, come on, let him have it. Yeah, it's a little bit of crime. We're gonna go directly to fucking Fox News for obvious reasons. Let's be real. I've seen it. I've seen it in the chat 7,000 gorillion million quintillion fucking times. You are not the first person in the chat to tell me what the fuck's going on. While Trump's fucking getting indicted. Sakura Gore, thank you for the 20.
Trump has been indicted by a grand jury in New York. Trump was under investigation by the DA's office for his alleged hush money payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels during the 2016 campaign. So as we await more information, Fox News has just learned this from two law enforcement sources that Trump has been indicted. Perhaps I can go around the table.
What
Katie,
the
I'll start
fuck?
with you first.
What
the
fuck?
president said 2 weeks ago that this was going to happen eventually.
Oh, shit.
Last Tuesday, the grand jury then did not.
I gotta put a fucking suit on.
And the grand jury was out of town allegedly for a month as of yesterday. So this is quite interesting to hear after they were sent home for the month. Now, leading up to this, there was a lot of talk about whether this would even happen, considering Alvin Bragg, who is the Manhattan district attorney who is looking into bringing these charges, would be able to, just given how long it's been since this incident, and it was allegedly a misdemeanor charge. It's never been happened in the history of the New York Attorney's Office before, and there's been a lot of controversy about whether it was appropriate, given the president is a presidential candidate again, and whether it was politically motivated.
Now, does this mean he's going to jail? No, but does this mean it's kind of funny and we're gonna have fun with it? Absolutely.
Questions about the district attorney's priorities.
They're so fucking mad, bro. They're mad they got you baited by the. They're mad they got you baited by the grand jury.
Carrying out very violent crimes in the city behind bars.
Hold on, I'll be back in a second.
Now he is focused on President Trump. But here we are with this. The president said it was going to happen. So now there are big questions about how this will go down.
Of all of the myriad of things that Donald Trump is under investigation for, this is not the one where you're going to be able to rally people around to say, yeah, this is unequivocally a thing that he did wrong. It was going to be what happened in Georgia, with pressuring officials there to overturn the 2020
Bro, this is crazy.
election.
I can't believe it.
Which there is no evidence, but go ahead.
What, phone calls saying, find me 11,000.
What's your definition of find? Like, do you find something that you have to create, or do you find something that's already there?
Well, they weren't there, and it had been certified and examined and certified again.
Find me a good masseuse. I don't say create a new masseuse. Find me a masseuse.
You don't think that the tour of Donald Trump and all of his lawyers throughout the country trying to get the results overturned in states like Arizona and Pennsylvania and Georgia?
Georgia. I was just responding to Georgia.
Okay. So anyway.
Georgia was on your mind.
Always.
If you get a haircut a couple weeks before an election and you pay for it out of your own pocket, not campaign funds, how is that a campaign finance felony? You were going to get a haircut anyway. You wanted to look good anyway. Just like he would have paid off this woman anyway,
you think a
whether he
public
was running for president or not.
Is the same as getting a touch-up on your hair?
Dude, come on, dude. Come on, it's just like a masseuse or a haircut. The only funny part about this is that, like, it is literally the lowest offense that you could get him on. Like, it's just the lowest offense that you could get him on, which is like campaign finance law mismanagement, which has happened regularly and routinely. Other people have had to pay basically just like a small fine, but I'm still going to enjoy it. I don't give a fuck. It's a felony charge for what is otherwise considered a misdemeanor in almost every single circumstance. It's only sister's wedding, Trump indicted. Absolutely, dude. Abso-fucking-lutely. So the interesting component here is literally that, well, one, there's a couple different things we got to talk about. Number one, Donald Trump has done a fuckload of crimes. I believe, according to the Office of Ethics or the Citizens for Ethics Foundation, 53 crimes that he has committed since he's been in office, right? Or leading up to him running for the presidency. So he's done a lot of crimes. That much is clear. This is probably one of the lower versions of that, like in the lowest of low rungs, because of the nature of the crime itself. It is technically considered in other circumstances a misdemeanor, and for it to be a felony, you need to show intent, and also you need to be able to prove that this was done with prior knowledge that it would be illegal. As far as I understand, you would have to literally also show that you did it specifically to save your campaign. Like, there are a lot of different components here that make this such a weird thing to indict Trump over. But, like, it's still funny. You know what I mean? It's still very funny. Does that make sense?
Well, it's a surprise, but quite candidly, we're not supposed to know what grand juries are doing. Ideally, this has been an exception. My position has not changed. I think it is the weakest of the 4 investigations. It's the wrong prosecutor, which you alluded to. It's the wrong fact pattern. You got statute of limitations issues. It's really a misdemeanor that put on a suit, and they want it to look like a felony. And I just... Look, when our justice system becomes a political tool, then we are on thin ice as a republic, and I think we are increasingly heading in that direction.
Trey, did Democrats just indict a former president over sex? Because we were told during the 90s that it was just
There
sex.
ain't no way. There ain't no fucking way, dude.
And it had nothing to do with politics,
Yes!
nothing to do with policy. Weren't we told that?
Yes!
And you have to understand, he says he didn't have sex with this woman. She had her hand out saying, hey, I'm not going to say anything unless you pay me. So either it's a consensual sexual encounter or it's a shakedown. And Democrats want to make that a felony?
I don't understand. Why would it be a fucking shakedown? It's literally just how they have explained the situation. That's what it is.
No longer going to prosecute prostitution was on that list. So it can't be about sex. It is the falsification of a business record, which, look, I'm not in favor of. You shouldn't do it. It's a misdemeanor.
But come on, come on, let him have this. Like that's Fox News defense is literally just come on, let him have it. Yeah, it's a little bit of crime.
Federal election law violation. The U.S. attorney's already taken a pass on this case. So again, I'm not speaking for the other jurisdictions that have the former president under investigation. I've always thought special counsel was factually the one where he was in the most peril. I don't know why you wouldn't go with your strongest case. And I can tell you right now, Jack Smith probably is not happy about it either because prosecutors always go with your strongest factual and legal case. This ain't that.
Trey, this is Greg. How you doing?
Hello, Greg.
I miss you. Anyway, everybody always says, nobody is above the law. No one's above the law. It's so trite. But it feels like no one should be below the law either, and it feels like Trump has been made to be below the law. You don't have to meet any standards.
Yeah, it's so fucked up, dude. If there's one thing, Trump, if there's one thing that's happened to Trump, he's been prosecuted too much. That's what I'm always thinking. That's what I'm always saying. One funny fact about Trump is that they prosecute him too much. They over-prosecute him.
The law. So there are plenty of examples on both sides of our justice system being weaponized. So I would think that this would be something that we universally rejected. But unfortunately, if it's done to our opponents, we like it. And if it's done to our friends, we don't.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why it's significant is because, former presidents have gotten in trouble. Or presidents have gotten in trouble with the law before. Like, there's that famous horse speed ticket. I forget who it was, but there have been instances like this, right? No, I'm not even talking about Nixon. No, I'm not. No, it never. Yeah, it was Grant, right? Obviously, former presidents have violated the law routinely, both during their tenure. Or even before their tenure, like George W. Bush was drunk driving, got caught, but that was before he ever became president. So did Dick Cheney, by the way, but that's besides the point. Anyway, but that kind of stuff is whatever. Grant was speeding with a horse. That's why he got a couple speeding tickets with a horse. But never in the history of the United States of America have you ever had a former president get indicted for something. Even Richard Nixon didn't get it. So that's why this is unique.
Left have criticized the effort. This is a patently political prosecution, writes Jonathan Turley. A lot of reaction, obviously, pouring in from both sides of the aisle at this moment. The White House has been asked for comment. When asked, do you have comment? we don't. I believe that was the direct quote. So the White House is not weighing in this moment.
Yeah, why would they weigh in? Are you kidding me? Yeah, we do not comment on matters, so you can call us out as like blatantly moving the needle on an active, ongoing fucking indictment. Yeah, no shit. You know who shouldn't be speaking out on this, and yet he has? Donald Trump. Donald Trump regularly engaged in jury tampering by routinely fucking talking about the indictment before it happened. That is actually another fucking law-abiding moment for Donald Trump. Someone with that level of power and influence should not be able to just leak information that he was supposed to not be privy to because of some of the witnesses that were brought into the grand jury, in front of the grand jury, and then like openly stating that it's fucked up. Not illegal to talk about an indictment? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm not saying it's illegal to talk about an indictment. I'm saying that you could absolutely consider it to be jury tampering if you get information about an indictment that you are not privy to because some of your former lawyers or people connected to your former lawyers have access to information that the public is not privy to, and then you publicly blast the fucking jury on the timeline, you publicly blast the people and try to motivate a potential insurrection in an effort to stop this from happening. He literally said, go out into the fucking streets, get out to the streets, and go out and protest this shit. Okay? That in and of itself is in my opinion, definitely, this is so libbed up. I mean, yeah, for the record, I don't think anything's going to happen. I just want you to understand, I am an incredibly cynical person. I'm just simply reacting to the news and laughing about it. But that does not mean that I think that he has a serious shot at being fucking arrested and going to jail or anything like that. Do not misunderstand me. This is simply for entertainment.
Issue. I'm the candidate in the race who has the experience with Donald Trump. I was the chief deputy in the attorney general's office. We sued the Trump administration over 100 times.
And you believe it should happen?
I believe we have to hold them accountable.
You know, Andy Biggs just put out a note saying this is Trump derangement syndrome. It's infiltrated our judicial system. If they can come for him, they can come for anyone.
I don't like when people have been saying that a lot the last few weeks. They can come from you if you do the same thing that he did. It's not like he was walking down the street.
Stop it, Jessica. No one's going after some random dude that settles an extortion case with a woman. Come on. It's because he's running for president.
Alvin Bragg had backed down from that position because it wasn't even popular within the ranks.
He was waiting for the timing to be right. And this was the timing.
I guess that it was.
Yes, technically his Secret Service would have to go into jail.
How heavy this feels.
Alongside Trump.
There are very few moments. I mean, I'm
which
no
is pretty
fan
awesome.
Of the former president, and I'm not saying that he didn't commit a crime, but I am really struck by how powerful
Jesse
it feels
Waters
right
is
now
freaking pissed. He's in this mode.
Going to be
yeah,
100% a note in every single history book that is going to come after this about what has gone on, and that has nothing to do with.
That's why Bragg did it.
I mean, it's pretty awesome, and it's pretty funny. Like, here's a thing that these fucking dipshits would say, regardless of the material conditions of whoever the perpetrator of any particular crime is, regardless of the low-level offenses that they might be serving a fucking life sentence for, these fucking dickheads in suits would sit there and go, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. But when it comes down to like one of the most powerful motherfuckers on the planet, who literally was the most powerful motherfucker on the planet until he lost an election because Joe Brandon stole it from him, they're like, dude, we need to do prison abolition. Our prisons should be obsolete, right? Like a bunch of Angela Davises. You never would have thought. You never would have seen it. You love to see it. You hate to see it. Doesn't matter. They're like, it is really fucked up that the criminal justice system is so gross and the carceral state is so inhumane. It's like, the fuck do you mean, man? What do you mean? It is for the fucking working poor. For once, we should have a little bit of fun. We should have a little bit of fun at the expense of like an actually powerful person who's done a tremendously shitty job as president. And not only that, but like will receive just a fraction of the outcomes. I wish that this was not done over the hush money for Stormy Daniels. I wish this was done over the RICO charges, the RICO case that's being developed for the past fucking however many years now with Fani Willis. She should be worrying more about her RICO case on Donald Trump for election tampering, which is a very valid case, instead of, trying to make sure that like everyone who's ever rapped under Young Thug's record label goes to prison permanently. Okay? How about you work on this shit instead? I wish it was over that. I wish this indictment was actually over that RICO case, because that RICO case is actually a valid one, a legitimate one, a genuine, like that one is actually genuine. That one is actually a viable and valid RICO charge that he could be hit with, because he actually did do something that is criminal. And he should go to jail over it. This one, he's just going to get a fucking light pad. He's going to get a tap. He's not even going to get a slap on the wrist. He's going to get a little bit of this on the wrist, okay? Maximum, he pays like a fine or some shit. It'd be really funny if they perp walked him for that. Also, he's rich. He doesn't
think that.
Here's the thing. Rich people don't go to jail like fucking poor people do, okay? He goes to jail or he goes to the fucking courts on his own time. So remember that.
This is almost like 2016, where he just commands all the free media. You know what I mean? And everybody laughed about it. They, like Morning Joe and CNN, thought that they were just going to, amplify him so he'll lose. And it didn't turn out that way.
Do I think that Trump getting perp walked is going to benefit him? Absolutely. He's going to look like a bad bitch. But guess what? Ultimately, that's more content. Do you understand? There's nothing I can do about it. And I'm just analyzing it. I'm just laughing at it. Do you understand? And that's what your perspective on the matter should be. Do not take this super seriously. Do not act like this is going to end him or anything like that. We don't know. It's not very likely either. Sobering
and unprecedented development. But if justice demanded that Michael Cohen go to jail for a scheme directed by someone else, justice also requires that the person responsible for directing the scheme must answer for their offenses against the law, and that person is Donald Trump.
True.
GOP candidate Vivek Ramaswamy just weighed in, saying very similarly, it will undermine public trust in our electoral system and justice system. He says it's un-American for the ruling party to use police power to arrest.
Dude, you know what's really, you know what undermines American trust in the electoral system? Constantly lying about voter fraud to a degree, or constantly lying about how the voter fraud actually ended up stealing the elections and then doing a fucking insurrection that was a failure overall over it. That literally undermines elections. That does. It fucks your side over so hard that like Republicans literally were like, why the fuck am I voting for this shit? It genuinely depresses voter turnout when they feel like the deep state pedophile Democrats are fucking controlling elections.
History. Fox News has learned from 2 law enforcement sources that a grand jury in New York City has indicted former President Donald Trump. This is the first former president or sitting president to face criminal charges. The precise charges not currently known, but the case is focused on a hush money payment to a porn actress during his 2016
That's the funniest part, that they have
campaign.
to reveal the details every single time.
This is a moment that will shake up the 2024 race, but again, is historic. We've never seen anything like this before. Let's get the latest now from senior correspondent Laura Engel, live in New York. Good evening, Laura.
Good evening, Brett. And as you can see there, our cameras are downtown at that courthouse. Fox News can confirm that a Manhattan grand jury has voted to indict former President Donald Trump, as you mentioned, the first former U.S. president to be charged criminally. The 23 grand...
I'm not going to lie. This is going to fire up the schizo base a little bit, I think. Like, do I think this is something that the regular Republicans give a shit about all that much? Maybe not. A lot of them are in a holding pattern, voters, I mean, where they're just like looking to see what happens in the primaries, right? But the schizo base is like, oh my God. Like, I can see them trying to blow up the courthouse or some shit. I hope that doesn't happen, but let's take a look at what Trump had to say about this.
Unusual situation that's taking place. And again, legal scholars can't believe what they're witnessing. And yet, after going over 11 million pages of documents, I built a great company. They've got nothing. They've got nothing. Think of it. 11 million pages. and my tax returns on top of it, and they're a big return. It probably makes me the most innocent man in the history of our country. Friends of mine say that. You will be vindicated.
Not my enemies, just friends of mine. They say that, believe me.
Works. It'll be up to New York jurors now.
All right, Shannon, stand by if you would. Let's bring in George Washington University Law School professor Jonathan Turley. Jonathan, I heard some reaction from you. It is quite something to see this moment, and it's really historic, this moment that we're facing.
It is. It's historic. It's not necessarily good history that is being made. It's not that I oppose the indictment of a former president. I don't even oppose the indictment of a sitting president on constitutional basis. But this indictment that is reportedly following the theory that we've been talking about is political. It's a raw political prosecution. Now, the indictment may come out with a crime that none of us have heard of, but for many months, this bootstrapping theory has been put out there. This idea that you could take a misdemeanor under New York law that has expired, that has a 2-year statute of limitations, and revive it.
I love the expiration on it, because, like, you literally couldn't fucking indict him because he was a sitting president. Instead of, like, addressing the facts of the matter, they're going to say stuff like, well, how could a grand jury ever not be tarnished? Because it's the president, and he was a very polarizing figure. A jury of his peers? Well, Trump is unmatchable. He is the greatest superhero of all time. There is no peer. But you know what I mean? They should throw this grand jury indictment in the trash because, again, you cannot have a peer. You cannot have anyone be unbiased against our Lord and Savior Donald Trump. Shit like that. They're going to do it, and it's going to be really fun to watch, in my opinion.
John Edwards arguing that hush money paid to another woman who bore a child out of that relationship.
Oh, yeah, John Edwards
was, in fact, a campaign.
That one is legit.
Violation. That was a much stronger case, but they lost. And the reason they lost
He's right about this.
Even if you can bootstrap that dead misdemeanor into something alive, you're essentially arguing a federal case that the Department of Justice declined. But it's also a case that requires you to show, if that is the basis of this indictment, that Trump's his sole motive for paying this money or having third parties pay it was for the election.
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem from Edwards. There's a host of reasons why
he can say he did this.
Married individual would want to.
He can say this, that he paid the hush money for not just like this campaign, but actually he paid the hush money to protect himself.
Negotiation that's going to happen.
To protect his marriage.
The dealing with the Secret Service, the fingerprinting, the photograph. We've been through kind of speculation about this. But one last thing on the legal case. You talked about how this is new as far as its construct. And judges would have to evaluate that not only first on the case itself, but then if you got to a conviction on an appeal that could last for a very long time. Meantime, there are other federal cases that perhaps are stronger if you are really going after the former president. The federal case in Georgia about election interference, and not to mention the special counsel and the January 6th investigation.
Yeah, and look, Bragg is.
If I was Trump, I'd be pissed that Fox News keeps saying that, by the way. I'd be like, dude, shut the fuck up. Why do you keep telling him that there are better cases out there?
Theory, which is the only one that's been discussed publicly, that is unprecedented. And I expect that New York judges will have.
What's unprecedented is that you can have a president. You can have a president with like better cases elsewhere, both at the DOJ level or at another state. That's unprecedented. It's wild that we're like, well, you know, if you really wanted to throw him in jail, you could have used the Georgia one or the January 6th committee. It's like, what? Like, how unhinged are we as a fucking nation that the former president has better cases that you can use to throw him in jail than the current one that just indicted him? And no one sits around and goes, that's kind of fucked up. That's weird, bro.
Committee, and he says that this is, quote,
it's true,
outrageous.
By the way. It is true. Those guys on Fox News are saying truthful things right now. Do I think that he's going to go to jail over this? No. Does it matter? Will it, I hope, piss off the Republicans? I hope so.
To go down this road. But, you know, Alvin Bragg, there were kind of two volleys, Wimbledon-esque back and forth between the House committee chairs and Alvin Bragg over the past 7-8 days. And Alvin Bragg saying, look, you don't have jurisdiction here. It is inappropriate. It is improper for you to get involved in a criminal investigation that I'm conducting in New York City. Historically, Congress has stayed out of those matters, and that's why Alvin Bragg said that this was so extraordinary. You had people like Jamie Raskin, the Democrat from Maryland, who's the top Democrat on the Oversight Committee, saying as much and kind of going to bat for Bragg. So it's unclear. And partly it's unclear, Brett, because this is such uncharted territory. We have never really been here before with an indicted president, let alone with, you know, a House committee or a trio of House committees investigating the DA at that point and wanting him to come and testify, telling him that he is not immune from a subpoena to appear.
Yeah, I love the fucking the Republican Party being like, this is political, so we're gonna make it political. Like, imagine literally trying to intimidate and investigate a DA that's like actively conducting an investigation into a former president of your party. That's wild. That is literally political. Do I think the DA is political? Absolutely. Okay. Do I think this case is like political? Of course it is. Donald Trump. Do I still advocate for it? 100%.
Deep state and save our country by putting America first. For that, the political elites and power brokers have weaponized government to try and stop him. They will fail. He will be reelected in the greatest landslide in American history, and together we will all make America great again. This is Taylor Budowich, CEO of Make America Great Again, Inc. Let's bring in White House correspondent Peter Doocy, live from the North Lawn. I assume the White House is not going down this road as of yet. Good evening, Peter.
They're not. I asked a few officials here at the White House, Brett, if they had any comment on this indictment, if they were going to have any comment on this indictment tonight, and I got a real short response back. It just said, we don't. If there is some kind of a Biden brief.
I love this because, like, what Peter Doocy is doing here and what everyone else is doing in the media right now, especially in right-wing media, is basically like gray name chatters that come in and bait me. Whenever, like, something is happening, they'll be like, Hasan, your silence on this matter is deafening. They're literally trying to bait the White House into saying something so they can fucking be like, look at how political this is. And the White House so far, of course, is not like dumb enough to literally come out and say anything. Okay. So they're like, they're not saying anything.
Peter Doocy, live on the North Lawn. Peter, thank you. Senior national correspondent Rich Edson has been reaching out to the candidates running against the former president for the 2024 nomination on the GOP side. Rich, what are you hearing?
Well, not so much, Brett, at least not much of a reaction in the way. First off, the Trump campaign hasn't said anything about this. You read the statement from the super PAC that's supporting Donald Trump in his bid for the presidency, but nothing specifically from the campaign or from Donald Trump himself yet on social media. You've also got Nikki Haley, his
react harder, White House,
during his administration. Her campaign has not gotten back to us. We've reached out to them for some reaction. Former Vice President Mike Pence, who is mulling a run, he has not gotten back to us either, though we have seen something from the former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. He has not said he is running for president, but he has said he is mulling a run, and he said in a tweet that the Manhattan DA, Alvin Bragg, is undermining America's confidence in our legal system. Bragg is the same Soros-funded prosecutor who refuses to prosecute violent crimes. Prosecuting serious crimes keeps Americans safe, but political prosecution.
You know what's funny? They're not wrong when they say that, because the American criminal justice system is not supposed to throw like rich people and powerful people or right-wing people in general in jail. Okay, unless they're like meth head Nazis that blew up like you know, shot at Transformers at another fucking power facility or something, right? Like, like the American criminal justice system is operated under the assumption, has always operated under the assumption that, like, if you're rich, if you're white, if you're powerful, like, unless you fuck over other rich people, like, pretty aggressively, you're probably not ever going to suffer legal consequences for your actions. So with that in mind, they're not wrong when they say this undermines our confidence in the criminal justice system. Like, this guy's not supposed to go to jail. Like, he's not poor. He's not black. He's not brown. Like that's crazy. Like he's not supposed to ever withstand any kind of legal scrutiny.
Got a statement from the former president, so it's fairly lengthy, but I'll read it here because we're looking for reaction from him. We'll put up some pictures of him as I read this. This is a statement by Donald J. Trump, 45th President of the United States of America. This is political persecution and election interference at the highest level in history. From the time I came down the golden escalator at Trump Tower, and even before I was sworn in as your president of the United States, the radical left Democrats, the enemy of the hard-working men and women of this country, have been engaged in a witch hunt to destroy the Make America Great Again movement. You remember it just like I do. Russia, 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 the Mueller hoax, Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. Impeachment hoax 1, impeachment hoax 2, the illegal and unconstitutional Mar-a-Lago raid, and now this. The Democrats have lied, cheated, and stolen in their obsession with trying to get Trump. But now they've done the unthinkable, indicting a completely innocent person in an act of blatant election interference. Never before in our nation's history has this been done. The Democrats have cheated countless times over the decades, including spying on my campaign, but weaponizing our justice system to punish a political opponent who just so happens to be a president of the United States and by far the leading Republican candidate for president has never happened before.
He's ever. Like
Manhattan DA Alvin.
He had to hit one for DeSantis in there too.
George Soros is a disgrace. Going on, saying rather than stopping the unprecedented crime wave taking over New York City, he's doing Joe Biden's dirty work, ignoring the murders and burglaries and assaults he should be focused on. This is how Bragg spends his time. I believe this witch hunt will backfire massively on Joe Biden. The American people realize exactly what the radical left Democrats are doing here. Everyone can see it. So our movement and our party, united and strong, will first defeat Alvin Bragg, and then we will defeat Joe Biden, and we are going to throw every last one of these crooked Democrats out of office so we can make America great again. Again, that is a complete statement from Donald J. Trump.
It's so sad that Trump can't even get his fucking supporters out there. The only people are like resistance libs that are like 75 years old.
President.
Like, I mean, part of the reason why there's not a big enough crowd forming out there for Trump supporters at this time is because, like, the grand jury debated everybody. If you recall, originally they were like, there was a will they, won't they type situation where they kept saying, like, oh, we're postponing for another day. We're postponing for another day. We're postponing for another day. And then they just out of nowhere said, we're going to postpone for a month. And then 2 days later, boom, dropped it on them. Dropped it on them like a dime, dude. Fucking awesome. Absolute mental shit, lads. Fucking love to see it, lads. Mental fucking strategy. It is funny because they don't know, right? So they also keep having to speculate, which we all are, technically. So, like, what if there is something? Is, like, kind of on their minds. Do you want to know why? In any other circumstance, you could very easily unload. You would need no qualifiers. You'd be like, this is fucking bullshit. Like, he's innocent as hell. Why can't they in this circumstance? Because Donald Trump has done a litany of so much illegal bullshit throughout his tenure before he was president, like over and over again, that it doesn't matter. Like, they don't know. He could have just as easily done something in that process where they don't know and they don't want to, like, look like assholes. How is misusing campaign funds illegally only a misdemeanor? I mean, think about it. Think about why. Think about it this way, okay? Straw donations land you in jail, but misusing campaign funds don't. I wonder why. Well, one, because they've already made it legal to just, like, dump unlimited funds into any campaign you want by way of dark money, super PACs, right? So if you're stupid enough, Dinesh D'Souza, to, like, actually do straw donations because you're a fucking dumbass and you didn't know how to do a 501c4 or anything like that, then you go to jail. Well, you don't go to jail if you misuse campaign funds, usually. Hillary Clinton didn't go to jail. Barack Obama didn't go to jail. I believe I'm sure the George W. Bush campaign probably also did this as well. Like, there are every single political campaign has in so many different circumstances, misused campaign funds, not to the same degree, but misused campaign funds in the same way where they're like, they write themselves an IOU or something like that. You know what I mean? Or they mismanage it. What do they do in that situation? They pay a fine. Okay? They pay a fine. That's why it's considered a misdemeanor. I mean, that's the reason why it's considered a misdemeanor is because it's, it's the people that are going to be the most powerful that will actually be doing the bidding of the most powerful people, right? Like the actually powerful people. You can't throw them in jail for shit like that. That's why it's a misdemeanor. Yeah, it's like when Congress gets caught doing insider trading. You know what I mean? Or when a really wealthy person gets caught doing insider trading, like Elon Musk. It's literally just like a slap on the wrist because the system is not designed to ever throw people that are profoundly wealthy in jail. That is just how this works.
But politics never waits on all of the facts. The jury does, but politics does not. So read the indictment. God forbid we actually watch the presentation of evidence. And then we can debate selective prosecution. I think the hurdle that's hard to get over here, Brett, is many of us recall Alvin Bragg's day one memo. All the laws I'm going to...
But like from what I understand, as far as we know, as far as what everyone has speculated on Trump's charges, technically, if he had filed the hush money, if he had filed like the in-between funds that went to Michael Cohen, who actually did do the hush money, if they had filed that correctly, this would not even be a thing. Like he would not be indicted at all.
The two DOJ investigations into the former president being run by special counsel Jack Smith. Jack Smith was appointed by Attorney General Merrick Garland in November to look at the president's potential involvement in efforts to overturn the 2020 election. He's also looking into those documents that were found at Mar-a-Lago, where the president lives. About 10,000 documents, a little bit more than that, taken around 100, we are told by Justice Department sources, that were marked that had.
Why didn't Trump pay the porn star with his own money? That way it wouldn't have been a crime. Great question. It's because Donald Trump is not as rich as you think he is. And I don't think he's ever been that rich. He's a con man, or he could literally be just a straight up fucking con man, which he is. And like, that's a very con man thing to do. He's like, yeah, I got all these funds. Let's use them. Who cares? I've been indicated. These thugs and radical left monsters have just indicated the 45th president of the United States of America and the leading Republican candidate by far for the 2024 nomination for president. This is an attack on our country, the likes of which has never been seen before. It is likewise a continuing attack on our once free and fair elections. The USA is now a third world nation. A nation in serious decline. So sad. You know this is him, and you know he was fried and angry when he posted this. God, he is so emotional right now, dude. He needs someone to save him. He needs someone to help him out.